CBS News has learned more about the Trump administration's expected plan to escalate its immigration crackdown. Multiple U.S. officials familiar with the plan say the president will invoke a 227-year-old wartime law to authorize the deportation of some migrants as soon as Friday. This would include deportations to the U.S. Naval Base at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. It's known as the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, and it gives presidents power to order the rapid detention and deportation of non-citizens older than 14 and who come from countries staging a, quote, invasion or predatory incursion of the U.S. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez joins us now with his reporting on this. So what is behind the decision to invoke this?
Just to put it in perspective, Lindsay, about how extraordinary this move would be, this law was signed and passed by Congress just 22 years after the Declaration of Independence in 1798, and it allows presidents to gain this extraordinary power to order the arrest, detention, and removal of non-citizens ages 14 and older from countries that are deemed to be invading the U.S. or orchestrating a predatory incursion into the country. And we are told that the president is preparing to invoke this wartime law as soon as tomorrow to authorize the detention and deportation of certain migrants who are here illegally, including suspected members of the Tren de Aragua Venezuelan prison gang, which, as you know, has been a focal point of the president's sweeping crackdown on illegal immigration. And essentially, this law would allow officials to process people subject to it without any of the due process protections outlined in U.S. immigration law, including the right to seek asylum. People would be able to be summarily detained and deported because they would be treated not as migrants facing deportation, but as enemy aliens. And so this is almost certainly going to face legal challenges in federal court.
I was going to ask. All right. Well, the Trump administration also is asking now the Supreme Court to review its efforts to end birthright citizenship. What happened today?
Well, as you may recall, President Trump, right after taking office for a second time, issued an executive proclamation saying that he would essentially reinterpret the longstanding interpretation of the U.S. Constitution by saying that U.S. citizen, or rather that children born here to undocumented parents or to temporary visa holders would no longer be guaranteed U.S. citizenship at birth, which would upend decades and centuries of legal precedent. And that action quickly faced lawsuits, and courts across the country blocked that initiative from taking effect. Now, the Trump administration, the Justice Department specifically, is asking the Supreme Court to intervene on the government's behalf and on the president's behalf to lift and narrow the lower court rulings that right now are barring and prohibiting the administration from enforcing this directive, which, again, would deny birthright citizenship to the children of unauthorized immigrants and temporary visa holders.
You also have some new reporting that the U.S. is going to be closing some tent holding facilities on the border. What can you tell us?
That's right. Well, as you know, Lindsay, there has been a dramatic reduction in illegal crossings along the U.S.-Mexico border. In February, Border Patrol recorded fewer than 9,000 apprehensions of migrants between official entry points. That is the lowest tally in at least 25 years. And because of that, Customs and Border Protection is saying that they are closing 5 of the temporary tent holding facilities set up during the Biden administration during that influx in illegal crossings at that time because they are not needed. And so the government says that they will save a lot of money, millions of dollars, by ending those facilities. I thought the government was running out of space, though, to hold detainees or people they're trying to deport. It's a critical question. So Customs and Border Protection right now is well under capacity because few people are actually crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. ICE, on the other hand, another DHS agency, is over capacity because of that mass deportation operation in the interior of the country, not at the border. So ICE is facing those operational bed constraints and is looking for more detention capacity. But CBP is actually closing facilities because fewer people are actually crossing the U.S.-Mexico border illegally.
Can't one talk to the other?
Well, ICE is actually considering using some of the 10 facilities that are still open at the border, but the logistics of that actually would be really complicated because many of the deportation hubs are not located at the border.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. Camilo Montoya-Galvez, appreciate you.